Well, it's going a bit too far. Let's begin. The article says that young drivers could be banned from doing one common thing behind the wheel under new rules. The legislation will be aimed at the younger generation who make up to 6% of total licence holders in the UK, but they account for 1 out of 5 serious or fatal crashes. Now, of course, they could be banned from picking up their mates and giving them a lift. The plans include an introduction of a graduated driving licence, which would place extra rules on young drivers. Critics pointed out that the under-25s on the road account for less crashes than the over-85s, and now groups of support the victims of road crashes, which acts as an advisory capacity to the Department of Transport, backed the plans. There will be a meeting on the new plans attended by both Shaman and Roads Minister Richard Holden on May the 16th, at which the Road Traffic New Drivers Act will be considered. Road safety charity Brake said new motorists carrying passengers of a similar age are 4 times more likely to get involved in a fatal car crash when compared to driving on their own. Around 590 young drivers and 375 passengers under the age of 25 died in car crashes between 2014 and 2020. The Department for Transport said that every death or serious injury on our roads is a tragedy, and we continue to work tirelessly to improve road safety for all users. Now, of course, while it is good that they're presumably thinking of people's safety, I just think it's gone a bit too far, because although it says 1 out of 5 car crashes which are fatal or serious are the under 25s, that surely means that 4 out of 5 aren't. And therefore they seem to be punishing the 80% of careful young drivers for the 20% of possible idiots on the road. But let's face it, quite a lot of people actually drive like bellends nowadays, don't they? I mean, take my girlfriend for example. When she passed the test, I asked her to let me know when she's on the road so I can make sure I'm off it. And of course it's not just that, is it? They get high insurance charges, which obviously being just past the test you can understand to an extent. Although if they are shown to be capable of passing their driving test, which actually is quite hard to do, and is becoming more so as time goes on with each and everything they add nowadays, I think this is surely an unnecessary intervention by our nanny state. And what I think would be more better is if they clamp down on the few idiots that are ruining it for the rest and give them harsher punishments for doing things like racing with their mates, driving like bellends, or doing donuts and things like that. Then maybe actually a small ban might teach them a lesson. And it's those people that once they've had their ban, in my opinion, should have any such limits placed upon them, rather than blanking it across the whole of younger age drivers. Because driving is seen as a passage of life, isn't it? And I think that if they did something like this, it may discourage people from actually driving, which makes me wonder, could that possibly be their thinking behind it, hoping people will just probably use something like public transport instead? It wouldn't surprise me. Suella Braverman appeared to be toning down some measures designed to deter migrants arriving in Britain in small boats. Changes to the immigration bill mean that channel migrants could get access to legal aid to fund their human rights challenges against deportation. In an apparent move surely aimed at pacifying some of the more liberal MPs on Tory benches, the Home Secretary set out the amendments to the bill, clarifying that refugees making their way to the UK by sea can get legal aid if they say their lives are at risk at home or they would be treated inhumanely or tortured there. Ministers will also look at creating more legal and safe routes into Britain. However, the measures come with other stronger challenges demanded by rebel Conservative backbenchers who want tougher action against channel migrants. Alf Maffett, hope I pronounced that right, of Migration Watch UK, which wants tougher controls at the border, was quoted as saying that the legal aid measure made little sense if the Home Secretary wants to reduce the spiralling cost of the asylum system and stem the flow of illegal boat crossings. He urged her to think again. And on Friday, Miss Braverman said that she and the Prime Minister were absolutely committed to stopping the boats once and for all, adding that the changes she was announcing would help secure our borders and make it easier for us to remove people by preventing them from making last-minute bogus claims while ensuring we strengthen our safe and legal routes. So I can't see how that's possible if she's letting them have some sort of legal aid. Anyway, the bill comes before the Commons this week before being sent to the House of Lords, where it was expected to get a tough ride. According to the latest figures released by the Home Office, 497 migrants reached Dover on Saturday, with the highest number of small boat arrivals so far this year, and 5 more than the previous high recorded on April the 5th. And the total number of migrants to have crossed the Channel this year now stands at a whopping 5,546. And I'm guessing that number actually only includes the people we know about and not the ones that have scurried off into the wilderness. Because let's face it, with this announcement that they can get free legal aid, something akin to Mark Dreyford's recent announcement, then I'm sure that is just going to give people more of an incentive to come over here if they think they can get legal aid. And can you imagine the brass neck on these guys entering our country illegally and then using our taxpayer money to fight their illegal entry in the first place? I myself personally think that she should have stayed strong with this, because as far as I'm aware they were actually trying to go for the Tony Abbott's Australian Prime Minister's approach, where they basically would say something like, anyone who comes over here via this route will unfortunately for them get their asylum claims turned down. Because let's face it, surely they're coming from the safe country of France, which, if I remember rightly, aren't actually at war. So what's wrong with France? I mean, is it because they think they speak some sort of weird dialect or smell of garlic or something like that? I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Surely if they're in genuine need of help, they would be happy to settle in the first safe country that they arrive in, not have their pick and choice of where they want to go. And don't get me wrong, I don't mind if they're genuine refugees who are escaping war, but to be honest, if they're coming from France, I can't see how any one of them can be, especially if a lot of people just leave their families behind. I mean, what sort of person does that if they're fleeing from war? And all the lefties out there and people like that just seem to think that every single one of these people are genuine refugees, when in fact, in my opinion, most of them are just economic migrants who surely would have no right to be here. And if they think they have got a right to be here, then why don't they just fill out our points-based immigration forms and actually enter our country legally rather than taking an illegal route over here? Because otherwise the illegal part is actually the problem, which me and a lot of other people in the UK want stopped once and for all, because not only does it make a mockery of our points-based immigration system entirely, but also if we don't know what criminal records people may or may not have, they could actually be a potential risk to the people of the country, can't they? And we should not have to worry about such things. So sort it out, government. A driver was slapped with a £105 fine for driving in a phantom bus lane before realising it was a scam. Tony Hill, who was 55, received a penalty notice from Birmingham City Council claiming he had stayed in the bus lane on Old Walsall Road South at 6:20 p.m. on November the 12th. The notice demanded that the DHL delivery driver pay £70, increased to £105 because of non-payment. But Tony, who has never had a parking ticket, noticed that the letter did not include his name or any images or actual evidence of the alleged offence. Smelling a rat, he then realised he could not have driven in a bus lane at Old Walsall Road South because no such lane exists. Tony then rang the council rather than the number listed on the letter, who confirmed that the penalty notice was a scam. He told Birmingham Live, "I put it on Facebook and a couple of people said that they received them too. One person messaged me and said that they actually paid it because he used the road a lot and did not even think about it." Birmingham City Council said, "We'd advise anyone unsure about any correspondence to check our website for the advice there, and if still concerned, to then contact us and make sure about any such letters." Well, to be honest, scammers seem to be up in their game, doesn't it? Maybe actually they're taking a leaf out of TV licensing book and just sending random letters to people, hoping they'll call their number and pay. And actually thinking about it, that sounds quite a lot like TV licensing itself, doesn't it? Maybe it's one of their ex-employees. Although by not actually including any evidence, a name or anything like that at all, then it's just surely laughable, isn't it? Especially as it was called a charge certificate rather than a fixed penalty notice or parking charge notice. But to be honest, it does actually look quite official, doesn't it? So it's no wonder why some people may have been worried about it and actually paid it. But to be honest, thinking about it, it hopefully won't be too hard for the police to track down, because if they've got some sort of account number, then that's got to be linked to someone, hasn't it, where the payment obviously goes. But of course, it is best to keep vigilant, isn't it? And always appeal or challenge any parking fines you get, because you never know when you might get it overturned. Maybe, who knows, that if people did fall for this, then it can actually escalate and then send in some sort of fake bailiffs around to demand some fee from a debt and things like that. Hopefully, though, that isn't the case, and this just is a one-time scammer trying his luck. Although hopefully some time with Mr. Big in a Cell might teach him a lesson. Although actually what is quite worrying is in this video, with the parking money grab that some are actually trying to impose on us all. Anyway, subscribe for more and I'll see you in the next one.